The offensive line in real life is definitely the most underappreciated position in the NFL, but in Madden, does it actually matter? We have an extremely stacked defense, even a stacked special teams with Justin Tucker and Tommy Townsend, who are the two highest special teamers in the game, not counting punt returner and kick returner, even though we do have Stephon Diggs and Tyreek Hill here as well. This is what our specialists look like, which is absolutely insane. And of course, our offensive line is trash, but we do have Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, Justin Jefferson, Stephon Diggs. We got Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, George Kittle, and Travis Kelce. And these are the playbooks that I'm going to be rocking with. But with that being said, does the offensive line actually matter in Madden simulation? I know it may seem unrealistic to have this stacked of an offense, but our team is only an 89 overall with all of the best, highest rated players at each of their positions, and I'm not exaggerating when I say that either. I have the highest rated players at each of their positions, and we're only an 89 overall team, which is honestly ridiculous to me, even though our offensive line is garbage. So my hypothesis with this test right here is that it only matters towards your overall. If your overall is high, your team is going to win, and if you have good offensive linemen, your overall will be higher. That is my theory with this, but overall, I think this team is so stacked that it won't really matter. So let's see who we can beat in week 1. Let's just see if we can beat the Lions off the rip in week 1. And then I'm going to simulate to the midseason mark and then, of course, the playoffs to see if we can win the Super Bowl eventually. We start 1-0. I cannot see the actual score because EA removes that in their marvelous franchise. 14-13. Very close game against the Detroit Lions. Our defense really held out, as you can see there. Offense seems to be struggling off the start, but let's move into the midseason mark. At the midseason mark, we are 7-0, top of the division. We are just rocking out our opponents. We have a 99 rated defense and 81 overall rated offense with an 89 overall team. Looking at the schedule though, how close are these games actually? I want to see this. 49-7 in the next week. Not even close. 48-10, 45-29, 35-21. We've scored, other than this Chargers game, we have scored 30 plus points, 31 plus points in every other game other than week 1 in our last week. It doesn't matter. It obviously does not matter. I mean, yes, the town around us is amazing, but in real life, offensive line, it does matter. It shows with the Buccaneers versus the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. It also shows with Joe Burrow. He lost the Super Bowl because of that, but at least they made it to the Super Bowl without an offensive line. So let's see how far we can go with this team, as we are currently 7-0, here to face the 80 overall Broncos, but let's move in into the playoffs. 17-0. I don't care if we lose in the divisional round. This clearly proves that it does not matter. It does not matter. Offensive linemen are completely useless in Madden, but here's the thing. We have X factors all over except for our offensive line. So the question is, will this work with just an average team? Like, let's say it's just a team of star development players and no offensive line. That might be a different question because the overall would drop. So I may do that in this video as well, which I think would prove my theory to be right. But 17-0 off the rip, if you have a stacked specialist around you, your offensive line does not matter. Our offensive passing game is second, rushing game is first. Look at our offensive team ranks. Like, our defense did worse than our offense and team ranks overall with their defensive passing game, which, by the way, how is the passing game 12th? That makes no sense. But stats and awards. Did Patrick Mahomes win the league MVP? That's got to be a league MVP. Patrick Mahomes wins the league MVP with easily the worst offensive line in Madden. EA, you suck at everything. You suck at your job. You suck at making games. You suck at life. You suck at charging people money. You're actually pretty persuasive with it, but good thing I don't fall for that. And it doesn't matter. Points scored, number 1. Offense, defense is 2. Ravens, Chiefs for conversions. Red zone's efficiency. Are we not in the red zone efficiency? I guess not, but it doesn't matter because we're 17-0. Penalties, turnovers. Let's see what the best offensive lineman award was. Did we get a best offensive lineman award because our offense was so good and maybe they got the ball out quicker than I expected? Best O-line. Stanley, anyone here? No. Okay, not a surprise there. Just making sure, but he's still 48 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. Whenever you have a terrible offensive line, you have no time to throw the ball, which leads you to panic and throw an interception. Obviously, that does not matter in Madden. 2 interceptions, 74% completion percentage is amazing. 133 passer rating is also amazing. Christian McCaffrey's eating behind this offensive line, not even 300 attempts and 1,600 yards, 19 touchdowns. Patrick Mahomes with 6 rushing touchdowns as well. Derrick Henry with 10 as well on the goal line. They're all averaging over 5 a carry. And even Isaiah Pacheco, who isn't that good at getting 4 a carry here whenever he does touch the ball. He touched the ball 7 times and still got 4 a carry. Broken tackles, 61 for McCaffrey, so I guess he had to fight for his life. But still, 1 fumble behind the entire year for our starting backs. That's crazy with how bad this offensive line is. Tyreek still had time to get down the field. It doesn't matter. Now the sacks here. 13? That's it? For the highest sacks. 17 games played, downs played. Wow. Our center only allowed 1 sack. Our starting center. Our left guard allowed 2. Right guard allowed 2. Our offensive tackles, of course, allow the most sacks. Still 13 is the highest? That's crazy. That is crazy. No need to look at the defensive stats. There was someone there with 17 sacks, which is nuts. But let's see if the AI would just allow us to win the Super Bowl. We're negative 91 million in cap. Obviously, can't keep all these players. This is just an experiment. Here to face the 10-7 Jets. Are we going to lose in the divisional round? Even if we do, we're 17-0. I would not care. What do we got? Beat them. I don't know how much we beat them by because I can never see because EA can never make a proper game. But let's see what we got against the Bengals. We beat them. We're in the Super Bowl against, well. Look who it is. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't think this could have played out more perfectly than this. Here to face the 83 overall Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the Super Bowl. Let's see if we can beat them. And from there, this isn't cheating or anything. I'll show you guys. None of these are forced wins. Did we just have a 20-0 season? Just had blowout. Humiliation. 35 points, no sweat. Fred Warner wins the Super Bowl MVP. Coach Andy Reid wins. Dude, it's not even a competition. What is this? This is just completely broken. Offensive line does not matter to a completely stacked team. It doesn't matter at all. I'm going to show you guys none of the wins were forced. It was all legit. Even in the playoffs, team schedule, playoffs, none. All of these, that's preseason. Regular season, all of these say none. Home win, that's just for bye week. That doesn't actually matter. None. All of these say none. Postseason, none. We won 42-7 against the Jets, 20-17 against the Bengals, 35-3 against the Buccaneers. Your offensive line does not matter if you have a completely overpowered team. Now, let's test this theory with not a stacked team, but a solid team. Because I just think our overall was just so stupidly high for the first season that it just doesn't matter. So let's test that theory. Now, this is the average team going into the next test. I wouldn't say it's average in terms of regular NFL. I would say it's average in terms of Madden rating. Some players are a little bit above 85, but I'm pretty sure there's not a single player on this team that is 90 or above, so no one's stupid overpowered. And of course, I'm using the exact same schemes and playbooks to keep it legit, but the offensive line is still terrible. We got above average players or just average players, whatever you want to call it here. And also, this is the defense. Obviously, our team looks good in terms of overalls, but there's no superstars, there's no abilities. These are just the players that I have. It's an 81 overall team, and an 81 overall is a solid starting team. It's a little bit above average, I would say, but a lot of people can build a team above average off the first year. So I wouldn't say it's necessarily impossible to do this, but I got a good team around me overall. Let's see how far the average players or the slightly above average players can do with a terrible offensive line. How far can we make it without an offensive line and a slightly above average team with an 89 overall defense, was actually pretty good, but a 75 overall offense and 81 overall team. Let's see if we can beat the Buccaneers in week 1 off the rip, and then let's move into the midseason mark. But first, can we beat them? We don't. We lose 0-1 to start. What was the score on that? We lose to the Buccaneers. Buccaneers have pretty overpowered playbooks. We just played them in the Super Bowl 10-17. Offense struggling already. Defense holding them to 17 points is good, but still, let's see what we got at the midseason mark. At the midseason mark, we are 2-5. Team is just terrible. The team is just god-awful. Maybe your team takes into effect as well, because I don't know why the defense suddenly sucks as well. That doesn't make any sense. But 2-5 is not good. Not good. So apparently, I think I'm right with my theory about... Looks like we blew out the Bears. I think I am right with my theory about the team overall. Your offensive line doesn't matter if your team overall is just so high to where it doesn't matter. We're an 80 overall team here. Our defense is still stacked, but offense seems more important than defense. Even though our defense is an 89, it makes us one of the lowest rated defenses in the league, which is total BS, but it is what it is. We're going to see how far we can get, if we can even make it to the playoffs. And we finished 5-12, but the offense wasn't the problem. The defense in simulation was just garbage. Suddenly, we're an 82 overall defense. How does that work? How do we go from an 89 to an 82? Did the AI just cut a bunch of players? No. It's the same defense. Why is our defense suddenly trash? It's just EA rigging it to certain teams being good and certain teams being bad. I think that's what it is, because it doesn't make sense how our offensive passing game is still 8th. That doesn't make any sense. We are 5-12. Let's see what we got. Did Kirko? Kirko had I wouldn't say a great season, but just an season. Patrick Mahomes wins the league MVP again. I think certain players are scripted to be good and bad. 13th best offense, though, is surprising for how bad our offensive line is. 32nd defense doesn't make a lot of sense. This is not a great stat line, but it's not horrible either. It's just meh. K9 didn't do bad. 12 touchdowns, 1,200 yards, 250 carries, 4.7 per carry. Tyler Lockett still got downfield along with Brandon Ayuk. Blocking-wise, this is the big thing. 12-10 for our offensive tackles. I guess if you have an average team, like I said before, if you have an average team, it really just depends about your overall. So the only purpose to having good offensive linemen is to boost your team's overall. And if your team's overall is boosted, then from there, your team will do good. So that is the theory. That is the conclusion I'm coming to today in today's Madden test experiment, is it's about your overall. So if you have a bunch of skilled players around you and they're all really, really good, your offensive line does not matter. We went 20-0 with that amazing team. Offensive line has no effect if you have amazing skilled players around you. That's what it's about. But also, this could be an effect that X-Factor abilities and Superstar abilities are more important than your overall. So I will do that in the next video probably, thinking about how if a player is an 80 overall with a Superstar, is that more important than a player who's an 85 overall with just Star Dev? We'll find out in the next video maybe, but for now, offensive line means nothing if you have an amazing team around you. But if you have an average team around you, the only purpose to having offensive linemen is by boosting your team's offensive overall. So that is the conclusion I'm coming to today. But if you guys did find this video helpful, make sure you like and or subscribe. We are at 9.2K subscribers. But apart from that, guys, thank you guys all for watching, and I'll see you guys all in the next one.